Lin appears in midair, and I feel my heart halt in terror. Capita may be crazy, but damn her, she's sane enough to do clever shit like this. Lin twists as best she can, but there is a hard limit to the kind of movements possible with nothing to push off of, no way to turn force into speed. The chaos implosion is already starting, and while I've never seen what it does to flesh, it's not difficult to make a guess. But Penelope and I planned for this. We are not stupid. We didn't bank on everything going how we want it to. I move immediately, enacting our contingency for dealing with Capita's death zones. I just hope that it actually fucking works. Core moving down my arm, tentacles extending, I push as much of my soul as I can into the implosion. Mana surges through my metaphysical veins and I pump it down my tentacles, well past their carrying capacity, which violently ejects my essence into the middle of the spell. A wretched screech rings through the cavern, easily audible despite the damage my ears have already suffered in this fight, as my and the Mistwatcher's mana collide and annihilate each other in an instant. Another whip-crack noise occurs at nearly the same time, pain flowering in my abdomen as Sky uses my distraction to score a clean hit. I may as well fight naked for all the good my armor does, but I grit my teeth and pinch off my many burst blood vessels with threads of soul. There's a moment of fear as the implosion starts to activate despite my best efforts, but with nearly all the mana in its immediate area temporarily gone, it has no fuel. Lin is clipped by the now tiny spell, a portion of her own armor and a few layers of skin getting sucked into nothingness, but she otherwise lands safely like a cat. Sorry, kiddo, she breathes, and I don't have the time to be mad about it. Got close to her and panicked. It won't happen again. Then we both dodge different ways a moment before Sky fires another shot, and we're back to bigger problems. Evacuate. Sky bellows, his many minions, and my newest minion, rushing to fulfill the order. Capita, I need you at full. Oh, hooray. She cheers, pulling out a glittering ball of some sort. I'll be so happy to see you. The ball disappears from her hand as Lin blurs, streaking through the intervening space to her target only to be stopped by Sky. He fires at her, forcing her to change direction as he covers Capita with his body. I'm approaching as well, quickly but not quite quickly enough to snap my own bones. Lin is cut off from approaching, as while getting me into melee range of Sky is ideal, it's a death sentence for her, so she circles around to the opposite side, forcing Capita and Sky to split their attention. Just like the last time I fought her, Capita is not demonstrating the ability to teleport herself. If that pattern holds, only her ability to teleport us is truly dangerous. Her implosion spell takes too long to activate, so Lin and I are both fast enough to dodge it unless she combines it with teleportation. And if her range is the same as last time, she won't be able to teleport us without expending absurd amounts of mana or being very close to us. Which is to say, close enough that I can just kill her instantly. Of course, that bitch just gives me her trademark grin and pulls out a new tactic. Sky cracks the ground, stones flying upward to whirl around him in a tiny hurricane. Capita sticks her arm into the vortex, retrieving a plethora of fist-sized rocks, and I feel an equivalently sized stirring of mana inside me. I push it out, my magic resistance up to the task, but a dozen blotches of power follow it. I could stop them all, but doing that over and over again would be exhausting, so I dodge instead. Sure enough, a bunch of stones appear where I was a moment before. And while I'm sure Penelope could tell me exactly what would happen if one of those ended up inside me, it doesn't take a genius to guess. Of course, as soon as I dodge, I find an implosion in my face, which forces me to retreat backwards or pump it full of mana. Damn it, she's stalling us. I may have a functionally limitless supply of mana, but actually channeling it is far from effortless. At some point, I'll start to tire, and it takes only a small mistake for things to turn against us. I need to force Sky and Capita to separate. We have the speed advantage, so if they're not standing next to each other we can twist the matchup in our favor. As long as she doesn't make another mistake and get ported again, Lin can probably take Capita, or at least occupy her full attention. I'm confident I can take Sky. Unfortunately, we currently have no way to stop them from defending with the reverse, i.e. me versus Capita and Sky versus Lin, which is significantly more difficult for us. Neither Sky nor Capita are worried. They think they're going to win. They can wait us out, tire us out, force us to come to them while constantly wearing us down. Capita is giving it her all, but Sky is barely even trying. Then, Rowan finally finds some damn cover and starts casting. I feel his intent, crouch down, and then leap in a random direction. 5 Kinemancy clones of me doing the same. Sky swears and Capita makes a face like I just gave her a birthday present, but he floats in front of her and starts firing, yelling at her to focus on Lynn. This doesn't work well. Sky manages to land a few glancing blows on me as I take risks to close the distance, but Lynn has no such trouble against Capita. She carves through the open ground in seconds, staying low to the floor, ready to dodge at a moment's notice. I feel her terror rise as she gets closer and closer, but my mother pushes it down, knives at the ready, her mind and body focused on the kill. I've never seen Lynn shank anyone before, although she's been cavalier enough about my own murders for me to know that she's performed more than her fair share. My mother, for all her warmth and compassion, grew up the same way I did, and did not hesitate to use her talents when they manifested in her youth. Her knives flash towards Capita's neck, Lynn twisting to barely avoid reprisal, and I feel the madwoman experience a spark of clarity as every part of her soul realizes that she is about to die. Then something that was not here becomes here. For a moment I'm seeing double, feeling double, and I realize that a second Capita has appeared from nowhere, knocking Lynn's attack off course with a blast of short-range chaos magic. Took me long enough, the first Capita hisses. What the hell? 2 Capitas? They're mirrors, I realize. Twins. Each of them has had their soul sheared in half and traded with the other. That alone would not be enough to fool my senses, though. If they're different people, they should still feel like different people, shape of the soul be damned, yet they are no more variant from each other than Lynn is from herself one day to the next. A new surge of fear overwhelms Lynn for just a moment, and immediately after she resumes her assault, going for the throat once again. The new Capita goes for a palm strike, which of course Lynn tries to parry with a dagger, an interaction that general wisdom says ends very heavily in the dagger's favor. It's difficult to read Lynn's emotions when she's like this, her thoughts moving far faster than I can keep up with, especially when I'm still focused on not getting killed by Sky. She must be expecting some kind of trick, however, because when Capita teleports just a few inches forward so her hand is past the blade, Lynn reacts fast enough to stab her anyway. Unfortunately, this doesn't prevent Capita's chaos magic from going off, blasting point blank onto Lynn's left hand. It's a trade, hand for hand, but the Capitas have 3 remaining where Lynn has 1. My mother backs off, one dagger clattering to the stone floor as her bloody limb fails to hold it. Purple threads snake out from each Capita's soul, linking with one another. They take a deep breath, simultaneously. Got your head on straight? Sky asks, smirking like it's an old joke. Never felt better, both Capita answer in unison. And I can tell they mean it, too. This is Capita, the entity that Capita considers Capita. With her souls linked like this, each half can properly communicate with its counterpart. From her perspective, there is only one of her, a singular woman that can separate herself into 2 imperfect parts. Together they share memories, averaging their experiences and becoming one. Now linked, the talents that were imperfectly severed match their other halves, becoming capable of feats beyond the sum of their parts. The air in the cavern flows towards Capita, becoming thin as so much of it compresses into a tiny, unimaginably dense point. Something about Lynn's danger sense must go wild, because rather than running into attack she breaks away entirely, circling around towards me as fast as she can. I take the hint and do the same, but Sky starts harassing me harder, forcing me back. Penelope and I prepared for a lot. We thought about possibilities, options, bad situations and ways to get out of them. I feel like it's probably time to use the trick I really do not want to use. But I spend too long stressing over it, and Capita doesn't wait to fire her condensed air blast. It shrieks forward like one of Sky's shots, and Lynn dodges it like one. But as it's about to pass her by, it explodes. The shockwave nearly knocks everyone off their feet, myself and Capita included, but Sky holds fast and successfully shoots me through the leg as I stumble. Lynn suffers much worse. She's launched like a doll across the cavern, spinning uncontrollably until she slams into the wall with a crunch before falling and shattering a crate below her. I watched in stunned horror, the instant burned into my mind. I'm certain that's it, that it's Angeline all over again, hesitation leading to death. Yet somehow my senses confirm that Lynn has not died. But she's not conscious either. Sky fires another shot, which seems like it's going wide from my location, but I realize in an instant that his target is actually Rowan, the fight having slowly progressed into his direction. I try to jump in front of the shot, but it pierces straight through my arm, nailing a direct hit on my father. The illusions of me wink out, as does Rowan's invisibility, his hands and attention now occupied with putting pressure on a ghastly wound. I land hard from my attempted block, earning nothing but a shot through my good leg for the trouble. Both are now bloody messes, and with that, Sky thinks he's won. I can't run in and grab his soul if I can't even walk. He floats slightly higher, just to lord it over me, raising his arms in a look-around-you gesture. I think that about solves things, doesn't it? He sneers. You never had a chance, kid. I've barely even been trying, and that's just because I don't want to smash all my stuff. There's valuable things in this room, you know. Which is to say, pretty much everything except you. I sigh, pulling out a mask and putting it on. It's the one Penelope had made for me, the one that looks like my soul. It's not metal, it has no tricks, no power. It's just a wooden mask. Sky still points a finger at me, readying a stone. Hey, none of that. I have been nice, you little brat. Without Capita, all of you would be pulp. If the next words out of your mouth aren't "I surrender," I'm blasting your head off. Month on the couch be damned. I should have done this sooner. Should have done it from the start. It would have simplified things a lot, stopped Lynn from getting hurt, but, well, it's just not deserved. It's not right. I'm going to regret this, even though I know it's necessary. I decide on the next words to come out of my mouth, and they are not "I surrender." Sorry, Nora, I whisper. I put a shard in my former teammate's soul, feeling it integrate almost flawlessly. I suppose that makes sense, considering she already loved me like a sister. I wonder if she would have forgiven me before the mind control, or if she just doesn't have any memories of me killing her since it happened so fast. I place her soul in my armor. Sky, true to his word, fires at my face. The supersonic stone shatters on impact, Nora's talent making my mask, my hood, my whole outfit completely inviolable. On two hamstrung legs, I stand up. What? Sky deadpans. I draw my spear, not responding. I'm done fucking around. Leaping forward with all my strength, feeling bones shatter, I burst towards Capita. From now on I am officially on a time limit, though I have no idea how long it is. Because Nora isn't in a corpse, she will eventually get nabbed by the Mistwatcher unless I pull her back into my body, put her back in stasis, and thereby prevent her from using her talent on me. I have until then to kill them both. A bit regretfully, Capita aims the whole of her offensive talent against me. It's so damn obvious in retrospect, there being two of them. It explains why her wounds suddenly vanished, and why she wouldn't fight me with all her powers at once. One Capita has the ability to teleport herself but no one else, and uses a short-range chaos explosion. The other Capita can only teleport other things rather than herself, and has the ability to create a long-range chaos implosion. The combined chaos talents stop being a chaos talent at all and show their true form, an aeromancy spell that sucks air into a hyperdense ball, fires it, and then explodes it on command. Likewise, I suspect their combined teleportation spell removes the limits, and most likely becomes twice as powerful. If that's true, she actually becomes the bigger threat. Nora's talent more or less counters Sky, but if Capita can teleport objects inside me or zap me thousands of feet into the air again, I'm fucked. Capita finishes gathering power and blasts her aeromancy talent straight at me. I try to dodge, and I also try to shove mana into the blast to disable it. This turns out to be a big mistake. There is mana in the air shot, but the only thing it's actually doing is holding all the air together and allowing Capita to detonate whenever she pleases. All of the actual power is in the pressure, and when I annihilate the mana holding the spell together, it explodes right in front of my face. I'm blasted backwards, head over heels, but I'm protected from the impact if not the acceleration. I right myself in midair, taking the hit against the far wall feet first and cushioning my impact. Sky fires at me and I smack the attack out of the air with my now invincible spear. What the fuck? Sky growls, as Capita fires another shot. I wait patiently, jumping directly towards the attack at the last moment before destabilizing it with a burst of mana from my tendril. It explodes behind me, this time launching me forwards. I'd hoped to send myself careening right back at Capita, but self-detonation is more art than science, so my aim is off. I do, however, end up on a trajectory towards Sky. That'll do. His eyes go wide and he quickly tries to fly out of the way, which is marginally successful considering I started my journey from the clear other side of the cavern. I know that in most cases a physical attack will be pointless. My spear would be knocked out of my hands the moment it gets even remotely close to scraping him. My tendrils ignore his power entirely, but to my great frustration, I'm just barely too far away. The tips of my being scrape against the outside of his soul, failing to find purchase. I pour mana into him instead, filling him with as much of my volatile essence as I can during our split-second interaction. Sure enough, a mana annihilation occurs inside his body, causing internal damage and the temporary failure of his talent. And that's when I fucking stab him. Shifting my grip all the way down to the butt, I reach him. My spear gouges into his shoulder as the two of us pass each other, finally drawing the blood of this arrogant, homicidal prick. He shouts in pain, eyes wide with fear. His own blood probably isn't something he's used to seeing very often, as overwhelmingly strong as he is. Now, for the first time, he has had a very literal brush with death. I land in a roll on the ground, tendrils savoring the taste of him. But I turn to continue my attack on Capita without hesitation. Capita! Sky shouts. Get out of here. Get to the backup deployment site and teleport every shred of metal we have. We're doing this today. Shit. The perception event is the absolute worst thing that can happen. I feel my legs crunch a little again, but despite my speed Capita just gives a sad synchronous nod, vanishing before I can get my hands on either of her bodies. I huff out an annoyed breath, skidding to a stop and taking a moment to try and make sure my poor, abused bones are properly set and held in place. You're just going to end up telling me where she is, I grumble at Sky, still glowering at the spot Capita vanished from. Over my dead fucking body, he snaps back, clutching his wounded shoulder. Yes. Bones as secure as I can get them, I leap at Sky without warning. He retreats upwards, scraping rocks out of the ceiling as he flees. Each stone circles around his body exactly once, accelerating before firing in a rapid, non-stop blast. I dodge as best I can, but he can alter his aim faster than I can change direction. On the upside, none of these skull-shattering shots can do more than slow me down. Nora's soul pulses, frightened and confused but still driven primarily by an unrelenting love for me. In the same way that all revenants do, she sees and hears, fully aware of her surroundings despite currently being little more than my gambesine. Exactly what's going through her mind, however, is a mystery to me. Though since I've currently made her little more than a tool, I suppose it doesn't matter as long as she doesn't run out of power. My former teammate does not disappoint. Sky is blisteringly fast, but so am I, and slowly but surely I am forcing him into a corner of the room that's mostly devoid of exits. The whole experience is very similar to my spars with Lynn, funnily enough, and the thought of that puts a smile on my face. Lynn is tough, and if she's not dead yet she's not going to be in the next few minutes. The fact that she isn't conscious, though, is worrying. Sky gets more frantic and desperate the closer I get to corralling him, panic rising within him. Fuck. He swears. Fuck, 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 fuck. I decline to trade banter with him, all my focus on avoiding or deflecting as much of his counterfire as possible. He mixes things up, sometimes hitting me with the rapid fire, sometimes gathering a bunch of shards at once and blasting me with a spread of them simultaneously, sometimes trying to carve as big of a rock out of the ceiling as possible and launching it at me as a huge chunk. The last one is the easiest to dodge, but would absolutely be the most dangerous of the three if it hit me, and I think he picks up on that possibility. When I push him to the edge of the room, he starts picking up and tossing the contents of crates at me instead of stone. Most of this is easier to ignore or avoid, especially the wood of the crates itself, which just splinters uselessly on impact. Sky is used to being able to punch through anything, sending small projectiles at massive velocities, but with Nora supporting me I cannot be pierced. Instead, my loss condition is running out of time before the Mistwatcher tries to either eat Nora or half the damn city, and to stall me, large, slow projectiles do very well. They may not injure me on impact, but they can knock me back, and when Sky rips open an entire crate full of swords and tosses them all at me with the speed of arrows, I absolutely need to dodge or get forced away by the sheer weight of them smashing into me. Still, I make inevitable progress, 1 step back but 2 steps forward every time he attacks. Why are you invincible all of a sudden? Sky roars, launching an entire crate of barley at me at once, which mostly has the effect of pissing me off at the waste of it. I want to taunt him, I want to rub his helplessness in his smug fucking face. I don't, I just move. He tries to fake going left, but I'm already moving right. He tries to faking a juke left, and I cut that off easily. His soul can't lie to me. More and more, his options dwindle as he throws his stock as if wasted wealth is going to slow his death. Damn you. Sky shrieks. Why couldn't you just listen? Because you're an idiot? Because you hurt my family? Because I don't need you to whip the nobles into shape when Penelope will do a far better job? Because you're summoning a giant fucking murder tentacle in the middle of my city? I don't say these things, of course, because I refuse to waste my breath on a dead man. 7.5 feet. That's all I need. When I get him within 7.5 feet of even the tips of my fingers, he is mine forever. He throws more crates at me as I close the distance, his desperation delicious. I stop keeping track of whatever is actually inside them, mixes of weapons and armor and food, much of which is better in quality to the shit even his own men get, which is infuriating. He peels off the lid off another collection of crates as I stomp through the wreckage of our fight, tossing it like a discus. I dodge to the side and take a face full of whatever was inside, some kind of floppy thing that bursts on impact into a light blue dust. He tosses more of it, rapid fire style rather than all at once to ensure it hits. I do indeed fail to avoid a few of them, but they barely slow me down. What they do accomplish is filling the air with that dust, which gets in my eyes, nose, mouth, and would easily blind anyone that actually relied on those things. I, of course, can still sense him no matter how dense of a smoke screen he makes, so I press onward. And I stumble, the ground no longer where I think it is. Sky tries to bolt past me towards a tunnel to escape, and the world twists when I try to cut him off, my head spinning. Powder is in the air all around me, filling my lungs as I barely choke in a breath. I collapse to my knees, the ground feeling blue in my hands. The smoke of powder settles to the ground, and I see the walls of the cavern are colored like the smell of peaches. I'm hallucinating. Sky just threw his fucking drug stash at me. My soul still sees clear, tasting Sky's fear as he barrels through the tunnels, not even remotely interested in trying to take advantage of my current incapacitation. I can't let him escape. I need him. He has to tell me where Capito is, so I can stop God from killing us all. I force myself to my feet, growling defiantly as my body rebels against my soul. I ignore my body, using bad habits like a lifeline as I disassociate from the feelings as much as I can, sprinting down the tunnel after Sky. I ignore my dizziness, my urge to vomit, the glowing bright sound of footsteps, the assault of nonsense synesthesia attacking my mind, trying to claw its way into my deeper perceptions. I move with soul alone, letting my muscles go slack as I find the orders I give them continually corrupted. I try to keep my mind focused on Sky, on the feelings I know are true, but when I close my lying eyes to block the madness I start to see a bubbling pond of putrid shit behind them, bits of corpses floating on the surface. I shake my head and keep running. I slam into a wall as the tunnel takes a sudden turn that only half of me can see. I feel myself giggling, and even with the eye of my soul the bubbling pond starts to appear. Maybe it's real after all. Maybe the corpses can be used. In the back of my head I scream at myself not to stop, to keep running, but I laugh it off and approach the pond. It smells like the sewers and screams of death, but it can't be that bad of a place. Angeline's head floats to the surface, bobbing ominously next to Nora's. The next thing I know I'm lying on my side, dried blood caking the inside of my nostrils and vomit dripping from my lips. Memories flash back to me. In a panic, I search for Nora, immediately relieved to find her wedged firmly back inside me, not taken by the Mistwatcher. I must have returned her to my body at some point during my hallucination. Other, familiar souls are around me as well. Lynn and Rowan are here, along with Penelope and Vitamin. Where am I? I groan, opening my eyes. Oh good, you're up, Penelope says. I flushed the Gleeshroom spores out of your system. It looks like things got a little out of hand. I blink a few times, seeing the darkness of a tunnel lit mainly by something behind me, my guess being the opening to the cavern. Penelope is treating Lynn's wounds, her back to me. What happened? I ask. Well, when I woke up, you were running around the room screaming, I am the queen of the broken and the dead. Supplicate before me or I will curse you with zombie frogs. Lynn answers, grinning through the pain as usual. Fuck frogs, I growl, irrationally angry about them for some damn reason. I meant what happened to Capita and Sky? You tell us, Penelope answers. When Sky left my session early today he said he forgot something and just flew off. He's not a good enough liar for that to have been a plot, so I think he actually had somewhere to be. But of course I ran to find someone anyway. I found Vitamin at your house and she brought me here, with the three of you. You neatly indisposed. Sky was here, and I waited too long to bring out Nora, I grumble. I didn't want to revenant her, but they kinda smacked us around until I did. There's 2 Capitas, by the way. Oh, Penelope murmurs. I guess that explains some things. And they ran off to start the perception event. I suddenly remember, jumping to my feet. Shit, we have to find them. Otherwise it's not going to be long until we... A terrible and unmistakable weight hits my soul, a dread formed by inevitability. I am not even close to the focus of the Mistwatcher's attention, but I feel it all the same, as even being in the barest edges of its periphery is enough to quell my being into near mindless terror. I once likened myself to a baby, the same sort of creature as this incomprehensible god but smaller, weaker, ungrown. It's a laughable comparison, to consider myself even so developed as a child. I am not a baby, I am not a fetus, I am not even a single cell in the face of this power so large it is indistinguishable from infinite. I am the queen of death, but it is the god of all things, be they life, death, or beyond. And it's coming. It's too late, I realize out loud. We have to run. I gaze out on my lake of shit and corpses, basking in the calm familiarity of it all. Heads bob at the surface of the lake, wearing the faces of friends and family, twisted in grotesque expressions that my eyes mostly slide right off of, not noticing or caring. It's nice here. Peaceful. Peace is fleeting, croaks a frog. I turn to look at him, for it is a boy frog, colored a beautifully fluorescent greenish yellow-purple. You're fleeting, I counter, since it is merely a pathetic mortal frog. Your peace, especially, because you win it with pieces of others, the frog continues rudely. Are you a poisonous frog? I ask. Or are you just an annoying one? All things die, good things especially, the frog ribbits. Your peace will die. Your safety will die. Your love will die. You will make sure it is so, because that is what you are. I narrow my eyes at the frog. I do not like the cut of his jib. Victory will solve nothing, the frog promises me. You will be afraid forever. You are surrounded by enemies in the most complete way possible. I hate you, frog, I curse him. I will eat you. I will eat your tadpoles. I will eat every fear, every evil. There will be none left. You will not, the frog croaks. Because after you've devoured your enemies, your abusers, your friends, your family, your lovers, and your very world, there will still be you. It is time for you to croak a different way, I tell the frog, lower lip trembling. Then I scream, lunging at him and trying to bite him in half. He hops away and I fly past him, landing face first in the putrid lake of shit and corpses. Memories of my drug-induced hallucination are not what I want to be thinking about while I run for my life, but for some reason my mind wanders there anyway. After tossing Vitamin on my shoulders and grabbing Penelope, I sprint away as fast as I can. Lynn grabs Rowan, and together we escape as quickly as we are able, not wasting breath on idle conversation. I don't know how long we have, and I don't like the idea of being underground when it happens. I feel my legs shattering already, only half healed from when Penelope worked on me while I was unconscious. It doesn't matter. I hold my broken body together, because it is the only way any of us have a chance of making it out of here. I suspect Lynn can go faster than me if she chooses to, but instead she matches my pace, having to rely on Vitamin to navigate. Part of me wishes she remembered the way and could go on ahead, but it's nice having her here. If we all die and get eaten, at least it will be together. The tunnels are long, maze-like and winding, but Vitamin knows the way. It's quite the contrast from our approach, desperate and breathy as opposed to careful and quiet. I'm barely even paying attention to my soul sense. I couldn't care less if we run into someone or get seen. Soon, we are out of the tunnels, back in the sewers. We don't run all the way home, instead taking the first exit to ground level. I feel it. It's coming. Half a dozen people jump in surprise as we burst up from below, and I waste no time drawing my bloody spear and pointing it away from the center city. Run! I shriek at them. Run to the outer walls. I feel confusion, not fear, and my mind can't even comprehend why they stare at me rather than turn to run. The all-consuming knowledge, the crushing weight of the Mistwatcher's gaze, it doesn't touch them like it does me. My heart is hammering hard enough to hurt, my whole body wants to scream, to run, to be on a completely different island, and these people feel nothing. Fucking humans. Why do I bother? How close are we to the center? How big will the impact be? Is everyone here going to die? Drop me and get to the kids, Rowan tells Lynn, giving her a quick kiss on the cheek. Love you. Lynn nods, setting him down and vanishing down the street in a blink. Penelope extracts herself from my arms, standing as imperiously as she can manage. I am Lady Penelope Vesuvius. She bellows. By my authority, you are to evacuate to the outer walls immediately. This area is not safe. I repeat, this area is not safe. Evacuate immediately. Now people start to move, Penelope's words somehow better than my own. We rush to a larger street, trying to warn as many people as we can, screaming at idiot civilians to move, to flee. Now, panic starts to spread like flame. No one knows what's happening, but finally they are starting to run. I have only an instant for my extra senses to catch movement at their periphery before the world explodes. The walls to the inner city are visible at the far end of the road, but that quickly changes as they are swallowed by a shockwave of rubble, dust, and destruction. The island itself seems to shiver in terror at the impact, a violent vibration that collapses the very ground beneath us. The sewers we just escaped rush up to meet the city as the streets are dumped within them. I take the fall unharmed, but dozens of souls in my range are not so lucky. I check to ensure Penelope, Rowan, and Vitamin are not among them, only to meet Penelope's horrified face as she stares straight up. I follow her gaze, despair eating deep in my bones. The island has erupted, displaced by the fury of its god and thrown to the sky. Enormous masses of stone and debris blot out the yellow sky, some miles in the air. Chunks of homes, of opulent statues, of the great miles of stone under our city, of corpses that were once a part of it. They inevitably and inexorably make their way back towards the ground. We may have survived the Watcher's emergence, but that won't stop us from being buried under the miles of rock it unearthed. Off towards the center city, the corner of my eye catches not one but three massive tendrils of flesh, raging and writhing, scraping away their surroundings like a furious potter taking out grievances on wet clay. We have been perceived, and found wanting. I desperately try to think of what we could possibly do. There's nowhere to run, no safe spot we could make it to before we're crushed. I could find an intact building and try to use Nora's talent on it. No, there's no way she's strong enough. Maybe if I smash enough of the souls in my storage and feed them to her, her talent can hold. But then what? Would we even be able to get out? Would every soul in my storage even be enough? A gleam of light catches the corner of my eye as I see something streak upwards in the sky, in defiance of the wrath that falls. Brilliant white armor, adorned with accents of red. She's high up in the air, beyond the range of my soul sense, but the moment she starts casting it becomes obvious who stands between us and our death. Galdra the Annihilator. Flames grow in the sky. A field of flickering heat, licking at the air, grows in all directions, dwarfing the woman creating them. They glow red, then orange, then yellow, white, blue, and soon the heat is beyond bearable, the color beyond visible. Even from a mile below, even past whatever impossible level of control that keeps Galdra from dying to her own magic, the simple act of watching is like thrusting my head into an oven. Boulders the size of houses char black in a moment, then melt, then vaporize, twisting back up into the sky under the force of a plasmic updraft. Not a single speck of dust passes through the spell that gave her her cognomen. But Galdra cannot cover the entire sky. Other shapes move up after her, first one, then a dozen, then 100, then 1,000, each clad in the same armor of white and red. Countless copies of Braum the Ubiquitous fly upwards, heedless of gravity, and take their fists to the largest stones, crushing and shattering entire city blocks of rock into pebbles. The shattered debris seems no less dangerous, but yet another High Templar unleashes power from amidst the sea of Brahms. A massive tornado grabs and launches everything it can catch away from the city, off into the forest. High Templar Cassia the Maelstrom, Penelope whispers, answering my unasked question as she rises shakily to her feet. We should be okay. High Varrock rather seemed to enjoy trying to bombard us with debris from above. The Templars are explicitly trained for. A deafening crash cuts her off, the island shaking again as the wrath of the Mistwatcher continues, a mighty tendril slamming into the earth. She and I both collapse to the ground, unceremoniously falling in sewage. But perhaps we should get ourselves further from the perception site regardless, she adds shakily. It would be nice if they actually dealt with the thing creating all that debris, I complain, failing to hide the tremor in my own voice. Magic doesn't work on the Mistwatcher, Penelope dismisses. Which, frankly, is probably a good thing. Imagine if we were capable of angering it further. Now come on, help me out of here. I grab both her and Rowan as best I can, which is a bit awkward considering that they are both quite a bit larger than I am, and I jump up to what I hope is a more stable part of the road. All around us, the city has collapsed into its own foundations, streets and buildings fallen into the cavernous sewer system below. A sewer system that I know extends underneath my home. You all run, I order, setting Penelope and Rowan down as Vitamin hops up beside me. I need to help Lynn. She'll have gotten there by now, Rowan protests. I know, I agree. She's fast, but I'm strong. If the kids are trapped under something. I'm coming with you, Vitamin insists, hands on her hips. Vitamin, I start to chide, but she cuts me off. They're my family as well. And you're not the only one who's strong. Strength flows out of her soul, through her limbs. It's Remus's technique, the power to push his limbs beyond human limits. She's stacking it with the natural capacity of revenants to move their bodies with their soul, an odd cloud of power suffused around the veins of strength I gave her. I don't really have time to argue with her anyway. Fine, I snap. Let's go. I turn to run, but Penelope moves forward and wraps her arms around me, squeezing tightly. I stop and give her a reassuring pat. I'll be fine, I promise her. I know, Penelope lies. I just wanted a hug. I give her a return squeeze, accept a hair ruffle from Rowan, and then I'm off, Vitamin dashing along beside me. The tentacles continue to rage, not a single structure around them having any hope of surviving the onslaught. Sky is certainly getting his wish, almost nothing in the center city will survive. My home is thankfully far enough away from there that it's not in danger of a sudden tentacle smash, but judging by the degree to which the entire city seems to be partially or entirely leveled, the quake caused by their arrival alone was probably enough to destroy it anyway. I don't have the luxury of wallowing in worry for long, as for a moment I feel a rush of ephemeral pressure suddenly and inexplicably lift from me, an ever-present crushing force somehow getting weaker for a short moment before the sky splits in half. A thick line of perfect, golden yellow screams from the ground and cleaves some of the larger pieces of debris out of existence. Mana. A concentrated beam of pure mana. That's going to be High Templar Arden the Iron Soul, Vitamin says, and I glance at her in surprise for a moment before remembering she has Remus memories. The High Templars sure got here fast, I grumble. I would have expected most of them to be out dealing with Vrathitso. Yeah, Vitamin agrees. Lucky for everybody in the city though, I guess. The idea of a Templar presence being lucky for anyone leaves a foul taste in my mouth, but I don't argue the point. We would be dead without them. Purple spiderweb cracks start opening in the air overhead, twisting and branching out like lightning in slow motion. They fill the sky, hovering above even the wrathful tentacles, one of the three finally starting to slip back through the island, down to the mists once more. The cracks in the air start to widen, vibrating dangerously, horrible screeching sounds reaching the ground and nearly splitting my abused eardrums. With a bone-deep shudder, the world dims for an instant before the cracks and all the rest of the debris above them vanish without sound or warning. A second afterward, the backblast of whatever terrifying spell that was slams me into the ground, breaking my nose in the process. But that's the end of it. Some detritus that made it past the Templars starts raining down around us, pebbles falling like hail, but for the most part we have been spared the threat of complete and total annihilation. Well, Vitamin breathes. That one, I don't know. Whatever, I hiss. It's better than being crushed to death by rocks. After picking myself up from the ground and stemming the blood flow coming from my nose, I don't really care enough to respond. We are almost back home, or what's left of it, and the closer we get the more dead souls I feel inside my range. I hate the idea of leaving the souls for the Watcher, but I'm terrified that my family will be among them. It's going to start soon. The reaping of souls, following the wrath. It didn't take very long for the Watcher to scoop the souls that died in the last perception event I saw, and now there are several orders of magnitude more deaths for him to slurp up. I have every reason to believe that the mass graves will result in mass undead, as well. Disaster sites like this one only get followed by yet more disasters. A god's fury is not quelled kindly. I feel the range of my senses encompass what's left of my home, and my jaw clenches. Not a single one of my family members is present in the structure. But Capito is. Where are they? I demand as soon as I'm close enough. My home is indeed utterly destroyed, and I search around for evidence of death but only find the pink-haired woman I tried to murder earlier this very morning. Half of her, anyway. Only a single one of her two bodies is there, smiling pleasantly and waving in greetings. Greetings, O work of art, Capita says happily. Fear not for the flock of the shepherdess, they graze in greener pastures. Where, I growl, stepping forward with murderous intent. I don't give a single shit whether she answers before or after dying. Capita must notice the look on my face, and has the decency to finally stop smiling. Peace, sister, she requests. I sent them to the outer walls. They hold, they are safe. The outer walls? There's no way Sky controls the outer walls, that's military. And with Lynn having a different phase courtesy of Penelope, they won't recognize her as wanted, so it probably would be the safest place to drop my family in a crisis like this one. So you teleported my family to safety, and are just sitting around waiting. For what? I ask. To pleasantly ask me not to kill you? Capita hesitates. Yes? She hedges. You're fucking insane, I tell her, gesturing around us. Dozens of dead souls are in my range in every direction. You really are just completely fucking insane. She gives me an apologetic shrug. I'll happily send you to them, she offers. You'll do that anyway. The moment I jump towards her, however, her second self teleports in, presumably having been watching from outside my range. They link souls and vanish a split second later, leaving me nothing but rubble and a strong urge to swear profusely, which I indulge in. Was she telling the truth, at least? Vitamin asks, walking up beside me and hugging my waist. Yeah, I tell her, one hand idly playing with her hair as a tendril strokes her soul. She was. Lynn and the kids are safe. So that's something. We gonna head back then? With another thunderous slam, I'm forced to my knees as the Mistwatcher hits the island again, scraping away more stone before partially slithering back to the mists, leaving only one physical tendril left. I sigh, getting back to my feet. No, I tell her. Vitamin, are you strong enough to head to the lab on your own? I think Theodora and Margaret might be trapped. Count on me, Mum. Vitamin declares. But what about you? I look towards the center city, the utter annihilation, the final Watcher tendril writhing in all its dread glory. How many souls will it feast on today? How many will it carelessly shatter? How many uncontrolled zombies will end up released on the survivors? Mommy needs to go do damage control, I tell her, picking her up in a brief squeeze. Vitamin grins. To prove you're a hero? She asks. I put her down, shrugging. To prove I'm not a psychopath, I guess. Then I turn and run towards what was once the center city, where the Watcher's last tendril waits. Hopefully, it won't notice me.